Hello, book friends. It's Alyssa. Um, I promised you a reaction to the Booker long list, and I'm going to give that to you. Um, it's probably going to be a bit muted. We said goodbye to my baby boy, Hemi, yesterday. And this is really the only time I have to film this before it's sort of irrelevant to do this reaction. I'm not even sure what I look like, to be honest with you, so I may look atrocious, but I don't think that matters. I just slapped something on so I don't look as much like I've been crying for 24 hours. But I definitely have a lot of strong thoughts on this list, and I'd like to share that with you guys. I know that some of you are going to say that I didn't have to do this, but I kind of need to do something, or I'm going to go a little bit mad in this house without him. So yeah, so let's talk about the Booker Long List 2023. I think this is a list that really surprised a lot of people. I don't think that anybody in BookTube actually predicted a large portion of these books to be on the long list. There are a lot of curveballs that the judges threw us, and I've heard various reactions to that. Some people are annoyed, some people are sad, some people are really, really mad that a lot of heavy hitters aren't on the list. But I think before I get into some of the things that I really loved and some of the things that I think that are unfortunately not included that should have been, one of the best things about these book prizes, in my opinion, is the ability to find new to you or just new in general books, especially from some of the smaller indie publishers. And I think that they did a really good job of presenting us with some more obscure titles, so not the things that you would have been expecting. I know that that runs into the argument of, isn't this supposed to be the creme de la creme book prize? And if certain books aren't on this list, then is this really truly judging the best books of the year? And I understand the argument for that, but I also think they've had their day, they've had their moment. A lot of those books have been rewarded for their merit, and taking them out of the playing field and allowing other books that maybe don't have the marketing or the author clout to also drive sales and success, to step forward, to allow those other books and authors to step forward and potentially get the notoriety that they deserve, I think is really important. And that leads me into the thing that makes me the most happy about this list, and that is that Demon Copperhead is not on it. If I had to read Demon Copperhead for the BookTube prize, and I really very much did not enjoy the experience. I don't think that it's as great of a book as everybody thinks it is. I think it's probably pretty fine. I just found it pretty boring and not really as sad as there's a lot of other books that are much more heavy hitting and sad and emotional, and I just didn't find it as emotional as other things that I've read in the past that deal with trauma and growing up impoverished in America, the opioid epidemic, all kinds of things. That sort of follow that same mold, that trauma, sad story. And I don't think it had the same emotional weight as some other ones that were done better. And forgive me if this is sort of incoherent. I'm just trying. So I'm really grateful that that's not on the list. Also, I just feel like it's gotten enough attention that I like that the judges took it out of the playing field and have allowed other books to come up in the ranks and to get some attention, because there are, oh my, how many debuts? I feel like they said 4 or 5 of these are debuts, and 4 debut novels are on the list. I think that's huge. I think that having debut novelists get attention and notoriety by being longlisted for a prize like this does wonders for a career. It can't always be the heavy hitters over and over and over and over and over again. And I found that was part of the thing that was really frustrating for me making my predictions list, was just how many heavy hitters had new books out this year. And if they went by that, it went by popular demand, you would have a long list that was very commercial and popular and not as exciting. I think that's why in the lead up to it, a lot of us were kind of bored. I'm a little bit more excited about what has shook out in all of this in this list. I am a little disappointed that they didn't at least give a nod to Salman Rushdie. I do feel like, though Victory City is probably not like his best work, I do feel that it was worth nominating longlisting him for a Booker, especially for the year that he's had and his contributions to literature. And I just think that it would have been a very respectful move to have done that. But I also do believe that there are books that were probably better eligible or like better suited for the list than Victory City. So on the other hand, I can see maybe why they didn't give that nod to him. From my predictions list, I believe the only thing that I got right is the first book that I started with, and the only one so far that I'm not really enjoying. So we'll get into that in a minute when we go through the books. There's two books that I'm kind of upset that aren't on this list, and one is Max Porter's Shy, because I actually really enjoyed that. I thought it was interesting. I loved the lyrical nature of the language. It reads, it's like the perfect audiobook book, and I don't know, it's my first Max Porter. I don't know if all Max Porters have this like oral narration makes it better vibe. It's very like rhythmic and poetic, and I really enjoyed that. It did remind me a bit of like how language sort of flows in A God of Small Things, in the sense that it is a book where the words aren't just for meaning, but also for sound. And I really enjoy when an author finds a way to convey a whole lot of meaning and make it also sort of musical and lyrical. And stories were originally not written. They were orally narrated around a campfire and told and passed down through generations with inflection and tone and like meter and all this stuff. And I find it very lovely when you get modern authors who excel at doing that. So that one I think is a bit of a shame that it's not on there. I also think it's a bit of a shame that Wandering Souls is not on there. I think that book was phenomenal, and I'm wondering why it's not there. We'll see when I get through all the books if I feel like it could have been slid in there, or if there were things that maybe outshone it. But I do really think that it was a stellar read, and I encourage you all to read it if you're looking for sort of a historical fiction and a story about like family and grief and immigrant life and all that. I forgot to say that the other thing I'm really excited for is that there's no more Lucy Bartons on the Booker Prize list. Thank God for that. That's enough rambling. Let's talk about the books themselves. I just have the summaries from the Booker Prize website. I'm not going crazy here. I was going to like type up a whole script, but I'm sad. First on their list is A God of Small Things. This is an examination of class and desire in modern day Nigeria. You have two different characters. One is wealthy and one is very, very poor. I'm about halfway through this. This is the only book that I think I predicted correctly. If I remember my list, I think this is the only one that I correctly predicted. And I don't feel like it's as great as I thought it was going to be. I think that first of all, Nigerian authors tend to be amazing in my opinion. However, I feel like this book lacks in the pacing department. I think the pacing of the story is very strange and too slow. It's not even meandering. It's just like slow, and we're spending time places I don't know why. And there is an event that's supposed to put our two characters together, and at the halfway mark, I don't even see how they're going to get there. I don't know. I think the pacing is just very off on this, and I have taken a break to read the next one on this list because I just need some time away from it, because I just don't think I care right now. But next we have Old God's Time. This is a murder investigation. A murder investigation leads retired policeman to confront the loss and sorrow of his past. This is a story about trauma and memory, and I think is going to talk about abuse in Ireland, particularly as it relates to the church. It's very mysteriously written. It almost has like those tones that you get in Gothic stories where you know something's coming, you have this unsettled. this unsettled feeling where you almost don't trust reality or the reality being presented to you. And I'm very curious to see how this ends. It's supposed to have a phenomenal ending. I was reading this yesterday, and then obviously I haven't been in the mood to read anything, but we will get back to it. I do hope to finish that today so that I can get reviews up. I want to start getting reviews up of each book. Study for Obedience is one that I wish I had put on my list after Kieran and I had done our predictions live. I was looking at things and I realized, oh, I feel like maybe this should have been on the list, but doesn't count. It didn't have it there. This is an absurdist, darkly funny novel about the rise of xenophobia as seen through the eyes of a stranger in an unnamed town, or is it? I know Sarah Bernstein has a lot of hype around her as an author. I've never read anything. I don't know. It'll be curious to see how this goes for me. It says Bernstein's urgent, limpid prose upsets our expectations, and what transpires is a meditation on survival itself. I mean, it sounds like it could be really interesting if it's done well, but we'll see. Then we have our most hotly contested contribution to the Booker Prize here. And that is If I Survive You, which is ostensibly a collection of short stories. However, they're supposed to be interconnected and follow a common thread. The Booker Prize doesn't award prizes to short story collections. However, the rules state that they must be a cohesive, it doesn't say no short stories. It says the work must be a cohesive work. And I'm guessing that the judges are interpreting that as a collection of short stories that are interconnected and have an overarching story that takes you through is considered cohesive. So we will find out. It's lauded by the panel for its clarity, variety, and fizzing prose. This Jamaican husband and wife Topper and Santa flee from the troubles of their 1970s Caribbean home to make a new life in Miami with their sons Delano and Trelawney. In the remorseless, laugh-out-loud code switching of the recently arrived, they attempt to survive America and each other as the reader is confronted with the immigrant's internal question, who am I now and where do I belong? I wonder if this will be a better choice to portray immigrant life than Wandering Souls. We'll see. How to Build a Boat by Elaine Feeney. This interweaves the stories of Jamie, a teenage boy trying to make sense of the world, and Tess, a teacher at his school. It's supposed to be humorous and insightful about family and the need for connection. It's supposed to be, I think, a coming of age kind of story. And it's supposed to explore the restrictions of class and education in a small community. There's a lot of books from Ireland this year. Old God's Time is Irish. This is Irish. There's 2 more, I believe. I do enjoy Irish writers. It will be interesting to see how this goes. This Other Eden by Paul Harding. It is based on a true story. It's supposed to be heartbreakingly beautiful. It's about Apple Island off the coast of Maine and transports us to the unique tiny community scrabbling a living there, descended from the trafficked Africans, immigrant Irish, and indigenous Penobscot. The arrival of a well-intentioned but racist preacher brings with it the unwelcomed attention of 19th century America with inevitably disastrous results. This is kind of giving the Colony vibes, where you have an isolated community of sort of outside of timers, if that makes any sense, and then time infiltrates and causes havoc. Interesting. I've heard mixed things. I had never heard of this or the next one. Pearl is both a mystery story and a meditation on grief, abandonment, and consolation, evoking the profundities of the haunting medieval poem Pearl. I don't know if this was just chosen because it is technically an interesting book, or if it's actually very good. The Booker Prize is saying the degree of difficulty in writing a book of this sort, at once quiet and hugely ambitious, is very high. So I don't know if this is just I can't believe you chose to do this, so we're going to give you a nod, or if this book's actually good. We'll see. I don't know anything about this. So if you've read The Pearl yet, please tell me how you feel about this. This book made me angry only because, nothing to do with the book, but because Goodreads classifies the genre of this book as autism. And how in how is autism a genre? Anyway, this is All the Little Bird Hearts by Victoria Lloyd Barlow. I believe the author is also autistic, which I think is just going to add such a like fantastic layer and rep to the story, but I'm very curious about this one. It's written from the perspective of an autistic mother. It's a poetic debut that masterfully intertwines themes of familial love, friendship, class, prejudice, and trauma with psychological acuity and wit. Definitely very interested in this. And it feels like it came out of left field. So I like that. I like things I've literally never had on my radar. And I think this doesn't come out in the US until like maybe the end of August or maybe September. Prophet Song by Paul Lynch is harrowing and dystopian and vividly renders a mother's determination to protect her family as Ireland's liberal democracy slides inexorably and terrifyingly into totalitarianism. I'm finding the fascination with Ireland this year very interesting. Some other themes that seem to be cropping up a lot is they seem to be talking a lot about like grief and trauma. I feel like Booker doesn't like happy books, which is fine. I don't like happy books. In Ascension, I overlooked for In Memoriam, and now that I know what In Ascension is about, I feel like I would rather read this than In Memoriam. I believe it's got like a sci-fi element to it, and I do love a good literary sci-fi. In this strange and wonderful world, every outward journey, whether to space or to the depths of the ocean, is an inward one as Lee seeks to move beyond her troubled childhood. It looks like it's going to have climate change commentary as well. Very interested to see if I like that. It's definitely more my style than probably In Memoriam was. Weird that you had In Ascension and In Memoriam on like the same predictions list. Western Lane by Chetnat Maru. This is a book that I never saw coming and is also one of our debuts. A debut about a family grappling with grief. Grief seems like it comes up a lot here. Conveyed through crystalline language which reverberates like the sound of a ball hit clean and hard. This also talks a lot about squash, like racquetball squash, not butternut squash. I've heard some good things about it. I've also heard it's kind of boring. It's short at least, so I won't be spending a lot of time suffering through it if I don't like it. Unlike the next one, The Bee Sting, which is quite long. I think this might be the longest one on the list. I'm not exactly sure, but it's definitely a contender for the longest book on the Booker. And this is a saga. It's set in the Irish Midlands. Here we go, Ireland. There's your fourth one. Brilliantly explores how our secrets and self-deceptions ultimately catch up with us. This is a family drama told from multiple perspectives, and it is hilarious and heartbreaking, personal and epic. And it's supposed to be allegedly addictive. Some of my friends have read this prior to the Booker, and the opinions are divided. So I will see where I fall on this. And then finally, The House of Doors by a repeat author, multiple repeat author, I believe, drawing on the life and writing of Somerset Maugham. Oh, I have some of his books. This is a magisterial and haunting tale of forbidden love and loss in the shadow of revolution and empire. Historical fiction at its finest. We definitely needed historical fiction on this list, only because there's so much historical fiction that was on these prediction lists. The books that were eligible had so much historical fiction to choose from. I'm happy that the entire list is not historical fiction. I don't know if I would have survived that. I am kind of curious about this only because I have some books from this author that, On Human Bondage, I think is his big one. Maybe I'm wrong. It would be interesting to read this and see if that sparks my interest into picking up some of the author's writings, or if this turns me off from him entirely. So yeah, that's the list. Thank you for sitting through this rather muted review of the Booker Prize long list. I have several of these already teed up on Libby Holds, so I will be going through them, and I will be trying to do individual reviews for everybody for every book. They'll probably come in like gluts. I'd love to know your reactions to the long list. What book are you like most mad is on the list, and are you most upset is not on the list? I think that's a very interesting thing. And then I just want to say, like, I've had one response to my community post where I asked about doing this and if you guys wanted to see it. And I thought it was really interesting. Another creator said the more they think about the long list, the more they think it's the industry easily catching our attention. So we become helpers in promoting books they want to promote. And everybody's angry about Deep in Copperhead. They're upset about like how this is supposed to be looking for the best book of the year. And if you didn't submit Deep in Copperhead, does that then undermine, I guess, like the validity of the prize? If that is allegedly, like the Pulitzer Prize winning best book that was eligible for a Booker this year and it's not on the list, does it change that? And is this entire thing really just a way to get all of us here on BookTube all riled up and talking about the books that the publishing industry wants us to talk about so that they can make more money? It's an interesting take. You can go to my community post if you want to read the whole thing and see who it's from, but that's irrelevant. I just thought it was interesting and I would love to hear your yeah, I would love to hear your thoughts on it. And thank you to the person who commented that. I thought it was a very interesting comment. I'm sorry if I haven't been responding to comments, and if I don't respond to comments in the next week or so, I'm grieving, and it's going to be a process. I had 12 years with him, and you guys have seen him in a lot of vlogs, and I have another vlog that I need to edit, and it'll be his last vlog. So I want to try to like put together something nice for him. For the channel. I know that, it's more for me than it is for you guys, but just like an in memoriam, because he's a special boy. He was my first dog that was mine. And he was very, very special. And he is very much missed. And he is over the rainbow running with his brother. And we lost like 2 years ago. So yeah, sad days. I am excited for Booker. I'm wary of Booker, but I am excited. I'm kind of glad that they threw us a curveball. I think it's more fun this way. I was not exactly jazzed to read from even my own prediction list. So thank you guys for watching. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video, whatever it may be, because it's my channel and I can do whatever I want. Bye. So just sit with me.